not really much different to usual. How are you? It's been a week, hasn't it? Definitely been a week since I saw you last. Nobody's here yet, so it's been a week when lots of things have happened, and I'm just gonna, oh, what's the point? Nobody's here, and that's completely wrong. It's never been so bad. Hello, how are you? Hello, Philip. Hello, Stephanie. I thought maybe nobody was here and I'd have time to try and make this trusty guitar work, but it's not really working, is it? This is worse than it ever's been. Ever's been. So, I don't know whether anyone saw the Jubilee yesterday, did you? Did you? Happy Sunday, yes. Welcome back. No training day today. It's completely out. How did it go so? It must have been the weather. Nope, no, me neither. Although I saw pictures of it. Now, I did see a story about how, what's her name? Kate, the Duchess of Thingy, wasn't going to wear a tiara. Did you? I didn't see it. She wasn't going to wear a tiara. She was going to wear a floral headpiece. And I saw a picture of it, and it was a piece of metal on her head. Now, I think that a piece of metal on the head is by definition a tiara. So I don't know where anybody said... It's not a tiara, it's a tiara. What on earth? That's completely out, but I don't care because somebody got a hat on their head. It was a shiny hat. It was a very shiny hat. A foil hat's a tiara. I think you'll find that's what it is. A foil hat is a tiara. And a floral piece with silver on it made by Alexander McQueen and some woman I can't remember was definitely a tiara. I think that we can agree. And the big hat that Charles had was a bigger hat. And Camilla had a hat too. Anything made of metal that goes on your head is a tiara or a crown. I think a foil hat might be actually a crown. So, if you want to wear a crown, wear a tiara. Yes, Alexander the Queen. Alexander the Queen. Her name's not Camilla. I think that you can agree. It's Alexander the Queen. No, Alexander McQueen. That's what I said. I think you'll find. I didn't say anything else. Strangely, even though this is out, it sounds better than it usually does. I don't know why. Maybe not. Yes, he was a palace. Alexander McQueen is not alive anymore, I don't think. But Steve McQueen is, but not that one. The other Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen that was married to Annie McGraw is no longer with us, of this I am sure. But Steve McQueen, the person who directs films, is still alive because he was in the news this week. Steve McQueen has made a film about Grenfell, which is quite a depressing thing, but nobody's turned up. Apparently nobody has agreed to come except for 4 MPs, and everyone else has said nothing. Steve McQueen is not Alexander McQueen, but Steve McQueen is also not Steve McQueen, but he is Steve McQueen, but he's not Steve McQueen, and neither of them are Alexander McQueen, and neither of them are actually the Queen, because Camilla's the Queen. The Queen. Camilla is not Alexander or Steve McQueen. She's not. She's a different queen. The Queen of Queens. Not the Queen of Hearts. hearts. She must be the queen of clubs. I'm sure she goes to loads of clubs. She's got that sort of face. I go to a club, she says. I go and drink gin like the queen did. She was very fond of gin, apparently. I think that Camilla might be a whiskey drinker. She's got the look of a whiskey drinker and a smoker. A big cigar and a huge pint of whiskey. Can you get in trouble for saying that? The King of Hearts. There's a film, yes, that's Alexander McQueen. Is not the Queen, but I think that he was, but you know what I mean. Anyway, that was a tiara, and I think you'll agree it was definitely a tiara. Yes, it was a tiara. Unbelievable. So, that's what's happened this week. There was apparently a street party in the street outside. Ollie went out to have a look and he said hardly anybody turned up. Queen of Hearts, is it a film? Okay. Anyway, we didn't go. I didn't go mainly because I think I was expected. I didn't want to go and mix with people I didn't know. I didn't want to celebrate the coronation. And I didn't want to bring food that I didn't have. I haven't got enough food to bring to you. It was obliged to, like, here's some food. I brought the potato salad. Yeah, Sesame Street. Everyone's brought the potato salad in the Sesame Street. Is it sketch? It's a little bit. I don't know whether you remember that. It's like cooperation. If nobody agrees to what they should be bringing, then everybody brings potato salad. And I didn't want to bring potato salad. Everyone's brought potato salad. So Sesame Street's the reason I didn't go to the street party. For sure. I could have bought a mystery box. I could have bought all the bits of chocolate that I don't want to eat. But they're all out of date and I haven't eaten them. So I can't expect other people to. Slightly busier trains. Oh, did you see also there was a train in Clapham Common that filled with smoke and everybody had to bash out the windows to escape from it? It was shocking, and people were saying it's because there are a lack of staff on the rail, and that's probably true because everything's falling apart and you're not allowed to protest anymore. If you protest, everything will end up on the floor like this. You can't protest anymore. You can't say, I don't think that this is my thing anymore because you'll be disturbing the peace. And if you disturb the peace, then you will end up in a place where the police have said to you, you cannot do this because it's a police state now, a police state now, a police state with a man with a big hat. And I think I'll get in trouble now. And by saying that, I've made myself get in trouble, and now I'm in trouble, and now I'm going to go to prison. Forever, because you're not allowed to say the things that I just said anymore. No, it's the end of that. The end of the world, the end of civilization. So that's what's happened this week. A train went all smoky. Nobody's coming to Steve McQueen's film about Grenfell. I think 4 MPs. One of them was Michael Gove, of all people, and David Lammy and 2 others. I think there was 2 Conservatives, including Michael Gove, and 2 Labour, including David Lammy. Is that his name? Yeah, David Lammy. They're the only people that said, yes, I'm coming. Nobody else had the grace and the courtesy to say, yes, we'll come to see this film. So that's shocking. So that's very shocking. So I think they should be ashamed of themselves. And they should all go and see the film. I'm not sure it is. Anyway, so that's happened. And also, there's been on the other place, the Tiki Toki place, a big debate this week. A shocking debate. I don't know whether you've picked up on it. It got reported in the news as well. That somebody was like shocked. An American was shocked that British people have chips and curry sauce with their Chinese meals, and they also say, I'm going for a Chinese, which she said probably isn't racist, but sounds racist. No, it's not, because it's like, I'm going for a Chinese, I'm going for an Indian, I'm going to Mexican, I'm going for a pizza, I'm going for McDonald's, I'm going for, they're not countries, obviously. I'm going for, they're just people say, because they can't be bothered to say takeaway, or I'm going out for a meal. It's like, I am going to get a meal of some sort, and then you specify the meal, but you don't actually specify. No, they're shocked by that. No, that's led to all sorts of people going, and also, most of the Chinese takeaways in this country, if not all of them, all the ones I've been to, are owned by people that are Chinese or British Chinese, British Chinese. They're owned by Chinese people, generally. And so they're the ones cooking the food. So you're basically saying awful things about them if you're saying that the Chinese food. Now, I've never eaten curry sauce and chips in a Chinese takeaway because we used to have them on special occasions. So obviously having them on special occasions, you have proper Chinese food, which is not proper Chinese food, possibly. It's not authentic, but it's not chips and curry sauce. Now, chips and curry sauce, if you want to eat it, nothing wrong with that, because most of the places are also chip shops. Obviously, a chip shop's going to do chips. So that's it. Now, that was fine and dandy, all very well. But it's moved on. The discourse has moved on from, yes, we call it a Chinese, an Italian, an Indian, and an American. I'm going out for an American. Whatever. We don't have that much American food, except from, we do have American food, but it's like branded, like McDonald's or... I'm going out for a Five Guys. You're not actually going out for Five Guys. You're going out for a Five Guys. You're eating not Five Guys because somebody, an Irish American, got very, very disgruntled and said the reason that she thought that it sounded bad is that she was told, as an Irish American whose ancestors escaped Ireland after the famine, that British people, English people in particular, actually ate her ancestors, and she thought that saying I'm having a Chinese was cannibalism. And that's what it is, because of the colonial British. Fair enough, they are colonial, but I don't think that they're cannibals. Somehow, I don't think she got the right end of the stick with that. Yes, Five Guys, you have to, if you're eating Five Guys, you do have to have a lot of time, exactly, especially if the cannibalism. But, I don't know, it's very keto, Arafingal. It's very keto indeed, but that's not what they're saying. Now, I'm thinking that what happened is her grandmother had heard of the Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, in which it's a satire, in which, because it was outrageous and people weren't helping the Irish people, that he proposed in a satirical way that wasn't actually hilarious but wasn't serious, that as the Irish people were dying and as babies needed food, probably the best thing to do would to actually eat babies. And it's not funny, obviously, and it is a bit shocking out of context, but I do think that he was being serious. Somehow I don't think that his proposal was actually that you should eat your own babies. But I'm wondering whether this person had been told this out of context, got the wrong end of the stick, because I'm pretty sure that English people didn't go around eating other people. I mean, they exploited them in very many, very different ways. It wasn't great, but I don't think that they ate them. I really don't. Anyway, this person was picked up on this, and she buckled down, and really buckled down, and said, you don't understand, it's true. So, all right, it must be true, because she got very offended when people said that it wasn't. Very strange. So, I don't know. People are getting a little bit hysterical about this. Obviously, people that have gone to different countries and brought their culture and their restaurants and their food with them have usually had to adapt to wherever they've gone. And in the case of the people that had moved to little country towns, because there's Chinese restaurants, Chinese takeaways, there's not that many Chinese restaurants in the country and in tiny little satellite towns, but there's a lot of takeaways that were at one point chip shops. Like, there's very few chip shops, fish and chip shops anymore, because most of them are also Chinese places. So you get the Chinese and you get the chip shops. So there are some fish and chip shops, obviously, but most of the fish and chip shops in tiny towns are also Chinese places, and I would go there for the Chinese food, not for the English food, which is like omelettes and chips and curry sauce. Curry sauce isn't actually English though. Curry sauce is a sort of like amalgamation of various different cultures, sort of pitched to a British palate. That's why that. But I've never had curry sauce. I mean, I've had curry, obviously, but I've never had chip shop curry sauce. I've not had that many chip shop chips in my life, to be honest. It's not really my thing. It's not. Chips is something that I've only later in life sort of appreciated, and it's more like fries If you're going to give me chips, I will eat fat chips because they're cheaper if you buy them from the supermarket and cook them. But fries is really, if I'm going to eat fries, that would be what I would eat rather than chips. And there's a very big difference between fries and chips. Fries are thin and chips are fat. Now, I know in America, they're all fries, but in Britain, they're not. In the way that we have cookies that are biscuits, even though American biscuits are like scones. I've had this argument before. You go, American biscuits, they're not like scones. What are you talking about? They are like scones. They're exactly like scones. They have got soda in them. They maybe a bit more soda than scones, but they're basically scones. Whereas British biscuits are cookies, but they're not called cookies, but we do have cookies, and the cookies that we have cookies are like chocolate chip ones, and they're the lumpy sort of round ones, and we have cookies, which are a type of biscuits. See? And we have fries, which are a type of chip. Exactly. We don't have gravy. We have biscuits, and we have gravy, but we don't like, I know that in America, biscuits are a bit like scones, but not quite, because they're more like soda bread, like hard soda bread, maybe. I had them once in my life. I'm just remembering this, because they used to do them in KFC, and I remember in the 90s that I know I'm old. I had one when they had them in KFC, and they stopped doing them very brief period of time. Like, they don't do mashed potatoes in KFC, which I know they do in America. They do fries, and they don't do, so we don't, but gravy, I know in America, is like white sauce with big lumps of sausage in it, which looks horrible, but I've been assured is lovely. Whereas gravy in this country is a sort of meat juice or vegetable juice, depending on whether you're vegetarian or not, mixed up with a bit of thickening like flour or corn flour, and sort of maybe oil. It might have the oil or it might not. I can make gravy without oil, but maybe that's because I apparently don't have the gene where you can tell whether fat's in something. So something can be really fattening and I won't tell the difference, or not at all fattening. I won't, fat is supposed to make things taste lovely. It doesn't really make any difference to me. So if I'm cooking for somebody else, they go, this tastes horrible. It's like, I can't tell. I haven't really got the right thing. So Southern biscuits are fluffy, yes. So they're like fluffy scones is what you're saying. Maybe like soda bread scones. A little bit like scones, but not exactly like scones. And scones aren't always sweet. You can have cheese scones, and you can have raisin scones, you can have chocolate chip scones. I suppose you could have them. But Southern gravy, all right. Southern gravy's like sausagey and white, but gravy in this country is not that. I mean, we have white sauce, so I think southern white sauce, which sounds like racist sauce. I'm eating a white sauce. It's like, you made white people sauce? It's like, yes, it is very white people sauce, to be honest. Very white people sauce. Indeed. But British sauce, British gravy is what you put on food, just other food that's not biscuits, because if you put gravy on a biscuit, that would be like putting it on a cookie, and that would be very strange, so don't do that. It's all different. Not like soda bread. No, not like soda bread, but I think my idea of soda bread, there are different types of soda bread, so it's a bit like a scone, only with more soda in it. You see what I mean? So it's nearly a soda bread. But do you know what I mean by soda bread? Because there's more than one type of soda bread. More like Irish soda bread is what I'm talking about. The Irish soda bread that you can't get anymore, that you used to get, that you can't get anymore because of Brexit. That's what I'm sure of. That's why you can't get Irish soda bread, which is a little bit more like a biscuit than a scone. You know what I mean? They're ones that are in a triangle. Triangular Irish soda breads, whoops, what's that on the floor, are a bit like American biscuits, I think, ish, but they're a different shape, obviously. So that's interesting, because I know in America, scones are sometimes triangular, but they're always the same shape as an American biscuit in this country, which is very confusing, I'm sure. And a muffin that we used to only have what you call English muffins, but in the 90s, which is quite a long time ago now, we got the American muffins, which are the big cakes. But muffins are still called muffins, even though you call them English muffins. And muffins are still called muffins, even though we call them cakes. And a cupcake is a little cake that we call fairy cakes, only they're not, because we used to have cupcakes that were sort of flat with a bit of chocolate on the top, and now we have cupcakes that are just like tiny little muffins, and that's a different thing, and that's a bit confusing, like Wheaton. Like Will Wheaton? Yes. So Irish soda bread is like Will Wheaton. I think that's what we've decided. I don't know. It's all gone back to cannibalism as well. Let's eat Irish soda bread. Wheaten bread. Yeah, wheaten bread is soda bread. Yes, soda bread. Irish soda bread is sort of, yeah, that is sort of thick and a little bit oaty on the top and sort of wheaty inside. Yes. But Irish soda farls, that's the word, farls. That's what I'm thinking of. Not Irish soda bread. Irish soda farls. It's all to do with the word you use, isn't it? I knew the words I meant, I didn't use it. A soda farl. Exactly. Wesley Crusher. A soda farl is what I meant, not soda bread. Soda bread is sort of big, and soda farls are sort of small, and biscuits can be like scones, or they can be like cookies, and muffins can be like soda farls, or they can be very much like a big cake. That is also like a giant fairy cake. That's a little bit like a tiny gateau. Let them eat cake is not something that Marie Antoinette ever said. Rousseau quoted somebody from about 100 years before who also probably never said it and who he made up. But Marie Antoinette never said that. And even if she did, she would have said brioche, not gateau at all. The thing you get at breakfast. Muffin bread. Muffin bread is like an English muffin. That's what I said. And an English muffin is like an Irish soda farl. And an Irish soda farl is a little bit like an American biscuit. And an American biscuit is a little bit like a British scone. And if you're from Devon, you like to put the cream on first. And if you're from Cornwall, you put the jam on first. But if you're from America, you put the gravy on first. Gravy on after. And that's the difference with that. Like, different big places have different names for the same things, and different things have different things that are very much like the same thing. Like, I've always made the argument that a pizza is just cheese and tomato on toast. It is, really. Cheese and tomato toasties are the same thing as pizzas, which are the same thing as they are, let's be honest. An Italian will go outrageous, but basically you've got bread, you've got tomato, you've got cheese, and what you do with that makes a very big deal of difference. So you can use the same ingredient and come up with something else that's very different, but it's exactly the same thing. Exactly. Boxty. Boxty? I don't know what boxty means, but it means what you've just said it means, and I've lost track of what the things are. So yeah, everything is very open to interpretation. Now, I had American Chinese food once. I went to America and we had a Chinese takeaway, and I wasn't that keen on it. I remember that. I can't remember what I had. But it was whatever the people we were staying with said we should have a Chinese takeout, and we got it, and it was interesting. It wasn't really what we were expecting. So it's not authentic even in America, because it's not China. Let's be honest, if you're in China, it's probably authentic. If you're anywhere else, they've adapted it to the local palate, and the local palate can be very, very different around the world. Obviously, biscuits and gravy. Yeah. A lifetime helping of MSG from the American Chinese food, you mean? Yes, maybe. Like, we don't have General Tso's, is it General Tso's chicken? Whatever it is. I don't know. But we do have Szechuan chicken, which I think is generally the same. Now, Szechuan chicken. Now, I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm mostly a vegetarian. But every now and then, I do eat meat. Sometimes I'm, like, for 80% of the time, I'm vegan and I don't eat any dairy product stuffing. For like time I'm mostly vegetarian, but every now and then I do eat some chicken and fish. So I'm not a good vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian. I've never claimed to be. But if I was going to have Chinese food and I would have some chicken, I would have Szechuan chicken, maybe something with like chicken and I like bean sprouts, and I really like bamboo shoots, but I think you're not supposed to eat too many bamboo shoots. I do not like water chestnuts. Water chestnuts are weird, very strange. I don't mind them, but I don't like them as much as I like bamboo shoots and bean sprouts. Yum. And seaweed. I love seaweed. But it's not seaweed. It's from a Chinese restaurant. It's more like kale or cabbage. But I've tried making that at home with kale and cabbage, and you can make it. Now, I make my own Chinese food that's not very Chinese, but it's air quotes with all my hands, but it's as good as it gets, really. And my mother, always on Mondays, always makes stir fry, which she calls Chinese because it's a little bit Chinese in a way. It's got stir fry, and it's usually got Chinese spices, and it's the leftovers from the Sunday roast, because they always have a Sunday roast, or 99% of the time, not always. And they almost always have fish and chips on a Friday, but we don't go out for fish and chips. She makes the fish and chips at home. You see? So, and on Saturday, it's a pasta day. So she usually does spaghetti bolognese. Now, spaghetti bolognese is not at all what Italian people would consider proper Italian food, because I think they have different pastas. There's linguine, I think, maybe something like that, might have a bolognese sauce. But, you know, in Britain, spaghetti bolognese is a very popular dish, even though it's barely Italian. Like macaroni cheese was, for very many years, the only Italian dish that anyone in Britain would have. And macaroni cheese is still, I think mac and cheese in America is still very popular. Don't think you'd call it Italian, but it's sort of Italian. But then again, pasta is basically Chinese food. So Italian food is Chinese food that's been adapted to the Italian palate. And you can't convince me otherwise, because that's what it is. Every single pasta is basically very similar to Chinese stuff that's been brought into Italy. It's a long time ago, and obviously tomatoes are from America. So really, Italian food is Chinese American food. I'm sorry, Italians, I've started a whole new controversy. I didn't mean to, but that's what you get from talking rubbish. Yeah, but it's no. But Italian food is its own thing, and I know Italian people get very upset when Italian food isn't done properly. But basically, Italian food is fusion food in the same way that most people's. I don't think that any country can say that their country's cuisine is entirely from that country, and other countries' cuisines that comes into those countries is obviously going to be adapted. Like was it what's that? Julia Childs. Yeah, Julia Childs claimed to be a French chef, I believe. I know this from, she's not big over here, but I've seen adaptations of, I've seen the thing that had what's her name in the part of Julia Childs, and she claimed to be a French chef, but she had sort of adapted it to a sort of an American audience, so it wasn't pure French. And French people were outraged that she called herself a French chef, but for Americans, that was French, at the time, that was French enough. So, everybody changes things, and everybody's cuisine is based on other people's cuisine, and everybody's cuisine is different. She probably could punch a chicken silly. We had Fanny Craddock over here, and of course Fanny is a dirty word over here, but she still got called that word. She was a chef in the same way as Julia Childs was a chef, only slightly more camp, although Julia Childs was quite camp, but Fanny Craddock, look her up, is an awful lot more Very camp indeed. Fanny Craddock. Fanny Craddock famously got cancelled because she decided to tell a competition entrant, I think was trying to find good food that would be fit to feed the Queen on her Jubilee. And she came up with some sort of dish, and Fanny Craddock was like, "Oh, that's not genuine. That's terrible." And she criticised this poor lady that was coming up with this food, and probably justifiably, because I think I've seen clips of it, and the food didn't look great. But everybody was outraged that Fanny Craddock had the gall and the nerve and the absolute front to say something about this genuine working class British woman that was making good, honest food for the Queen, and she got cancelled, and her career, which had lasted for years, was over because she said something bad about British food, even though she was British. So, you can get cancelled if you say something about food. You can get cancelled very, very badly. So, food. Yeah, I mean, obviously, this country, it's got reputation overseas for being the worst place for food, but we've got everybody else's food, and it has been adapted to British tastes, to be fair, it has. But also, I mean, there's two very famous British dishes. One of them is chicken tikka masala, that was invented in Scotland, I think, and the other is balti, which was invented in Birmingham. But they're both Indian dishes that they were invented by people that had come over and invented them for the British palate. Chicken tikka masala, that is the British national dish now, and balti is coming very close behind. And then Chinese food, especially like salt and pepper chips with curry sauce, it's not Chinese, but it's not purely English. And of course, fish and chips came over from Portuguese and Jewish people coming over and making. And obviously, chips are from America, in a way. I mean, potatoes are from America. So potatoes are from America. Fish and chips is sort of Portuguese and Sephardic Jewish, and nobody's got any food that is entirely and uniquely their own. Let's be honest. Vindaloo. Yes, Vindaloo. Vindaloo is very famously it's just abrasive, very, very hot curry that's really quite British in the way that it's made, and would be shocking and appalling to somebody on the Indian subcontinent. The Indian subcontinent? Yes, it's Indian subcontinent. Anyway, people from India that came over and had British Indian food would probably be like, this isn't genuine, because it's not, but it is great. It's great British fusion cuisine. And obviously, American Chinese food, it's all different sorts of things, like chop suey and is it Kung Pao's chicken? I don't know. I remember. Anyway, all these things are not really genuinely Chinese, but they are classics of the American palate. Like, you're very big on Tex-Mex, which is not entirely Mexican, and it's not entirely American. It's both. It is American food. Tex-Mex is American food, even though it's vaguely Mexican food. It is not purely Mexican food. Like, Mexican food would have a lot of corn tortillas, and I know that Tex-Mex is more sort of wheaty tortillas. People change things. And obviously, biscuits. Everyone likes biscuits. No matter what they are, biscuits. They're good. Anyway, I'm going to go now that I've insulted everybody in the world, everybody's cuisine. I'm sorry. Now I've got cancelled. I'm Fanny Craddock on ice. I've got cancelled for saying things that are not very nice about every cuisine in the world. Every cuisine has got something to be good about and bad about. And that's the end of that. The end of a week with a man with a hat. A big shiny hat. And that's that. All right, I'll see you next week. Stay safe. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.